lot of beers which we brewed over our 30-year history, and bringing things back that people have requested, asked for, or specifically remember. We've started that actually this year with Holy Water, which is the first of the beers that we brought back, and we've got a few more scheduled to be released very soon.
Is your recipes stable over the year, so you've modified them every year?
So our recipes largely stay the same, but much like with grapes, hops change year to year. So the same crop of hop from the same farm might have a different flavour to it. So with moonshine, for instance, there are a blend of 5 different hops in there. We have to balance those hops to try and get the same flavour profile each year, despite the hops being in slightly different quantities.
Yeah. And what about vegan-friendly beer? For example, Black Mass, I saw vegan-friendly now,
Yes.
so it's different recipe.
The thing that stops most of our non-vegan friendly beers from being vegan friendly is the addition of finings. Finings are a product which reduces the haze in beer. They're produced from fish swim bladders. They're added as it gets put into cask, and generally speaking, they will drop straight out of the beer and will never be consumed by anyone, but it stops it being considered a vegan product because they are used as a processing aid. We've trialled a few different other fining products to try and get more things to be vegan, but we've not really found any that work as well. We're hoping that we'll be able to get Heresy to be vegan friendly at some point. We're not quite happy with the results from the vegan friendly finings that we're using in it. For darker beers, we try not to use any finings because there's not much point. You won't be able to read your paper through it anyway. But for paler beers, if we don't want them to be hazy, we do still use finings.
Yeah.
Largely just for the cask beers though.
Yeah. And question about price. How Wetherspoon managed to keep half price of other pubs?
I'm sorry.
How the Wetherspoon pubs can keep half price of the beer pint?
Well, the price of beer is always a tricky question.
Because it's £2 per pint at the moment.
£2 per pint?
Yes.
In Wetherspoons?
Yes.
Well, Wetherspoons buy beer which is short dated. We don't sell any beer to Wetherspoons because we sell our beer without needing to resort to selling it to them at the incredibly cheap prices that they demand.
Wetherspoons basically, if you're desperate for cash flow, they'd be good in that sense. Well, otherwise, you just argue you're damaging your brand.
You're devaluing the product by allowing it to be bought at a price which is already too low.
Why would you buy a pint of Jaipur
Yeah, Jaipur is everywhere. Wetherspoons.
Jaipur is so cheap in a Wetherspoons, it's absolutely astonishing. But as a result, why would you get it elsewhere? One other thing to consider is that cask prices are artificially lower than they should be. We make 12% margin on our cask beer. So when we're selling a cask of beer, 12% of the price is our profit margin.
It's not much.
It's not much at all. So it means that we have to be absolutely certain of the quality of the products we put out there. But we can't charge more because people are unwilling to pay more for cask beer at a pub. It's just we view it as a cheaper product than keg beer. It should be a more expensive product than keg beer. It's a product which is live. It's still a living product. When we deliver it to the pubs, it requires care and attention from the publicans before it goes on the bar. And when it goes on the bar, they've only got 3 days to sell it before it is past its best before. So really, the price you should be paying for cask is a lot higher than you currently see. But we can't charge more than we do currently because there isn't the scope for that in the market at the moment.
So 3 days, you've got to turn it over in 3 days?
Yeah, once it gets to a pub, it should be consumed within 3 days. Well, once it goes on the bar, once it's been tapped, vented, air has got to it, you're then introducing oxygen into a beer, and oxygen plus alcohol, that produces vinegar. So it's...
Ah.
Yes.
That's why you get that pint.
You get bad pint, it's been
It's probably, if it's a bad pint, it's possibly been on a couple of days too long. It might be the brewer's fault, it might be the publican's fault, it might be nobody's fault at all. But yeah, it's just the fact that you need to get it drunk quickly once you get it there.
What do you spot if it's making gluten-free?
We use an enzyme which reduces the gluten. We test every batch of beer that goes out. So we were using Brewers Clarets, but we switched over to a different product. What's the
Dehaze.
Dehaze?
So gluten is a long chain amino acid, really quite complex. What dehaze does is it puts those links to end up with a much simpler protein again. So we're still using ingredients which contain gluten, so we have to declare that. The actual gluten content is about 20 parts per million, which in Europe is gluten-free. America is not. So legislation is quite odd. If you're allergic to wheat but not gluten, it's still going to have beer. If it's a gluten tolerance, you're absolutely fine with that beer. And every single batch is set to be now.
How much secrecy is there in like your recipe? Like, what's to stop someone from your brewery going for another brewery?
Everything right.
I mean, nothing's going to stop them. You can't copyright recipes. So if someone were to steal our recipe, then that would be,
There's also a million variables there. I mean, as I was saying earlier, the recipe difference between milkshake and Heineken is not going to be that much.
Right. Okay.
Because, your water's the key thing. Beer's 4% alcohol is 95% water.
Right. Okay.
Whiskey maker says that the shape of this mash tun is very important.
yes, indeed, yeah.
For
They put a bash in them to make sure it's exactly the same when they get
Yeah,
to you.
for the beer brewery, it's not exactly the case. Or you've got difference between the size and.
Yeah, the size of the fermenting vessels is supposedly meant to make a bit of a difference to the flavour. We've not noticed massive differences here when we do a larger scale, but I think perhaps we're not talking about a large enough difference. But when you're scaling up from a homebrewed version to a larger version, when we're doing 5,000 litres, the pressure at the bottom is going to be a lot greater than at the top. That creates a vast difference in temperature, in how the yeast will behave. But between the different scales of our fermenters, we don't notice much difference in there. But it is when you're scaling up from a homebrew version that you'll notice that.
Yeah, I think mashing is quite difficult at home to keep the proper temperature and compare with the
Yes,
commercial.
indeed. Yeah, that's always a challenge.
So when you modernise this place, did you have somebody in to design the process, or did you design it in-house?
Well, I can't say I designed it.
No, but was it designed in-house? Or did you get a brewery or a...
So,
is it like an architect for
breweries?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it evolved over time, really. When it started, it was the mash tun that you saw, a 5 brewer's barrel kettle, and a couple of fermenting vessels, and that was it. It was one unit at the back. So, back then you didn't need to design where everything was going to go. Now we use a company called SSV whenever we're going to be putting in new stainless steel vessels, which is where the SSV comes from. I don't just put that together. Certainly makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. But yeah, they help us do the complex calculations of figuring out how we can fit more things in there.
The screw for the
yeah, exactly. All of that.
The design's quite complicated, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there are a few different companies that do that, but we tend to use SSV. We've got a good relationship with them. And,
Thinking it's something you throw together.
Yeah.
Builder, you're thinking builder.
When it's on a smaller scale, when it is just the 5 brewer's barrel, which is still quite a lot, but when it is at that scale, it is relatively simple though. You need your mash tun, you need your hot liquor tank, you need a kettle, and you need fermenting vessels. That's all you need to have a brewery, really. After that, everything's just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
How much is one of those vessels worth?
what vessel are we talking about here? I'm not sure I could give you a real answer.
The best one, I guess.
The best one. The new kettle cost us, I think it was £150,000, but I'm pulling that figure from the back of my mind there, and it could be wrong.
It's not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap, but, you
No,
know,
but we need it.
we need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We produce 3 million pints of beer a year. We need to, yeah.
You sell all around the
Well, we sell as directly. We sell as far north as Newcastle, as far south as Birmingham. We also sell pallets into London. We have wholesale partners who cover the rest of the country as well. We also export a little bit. So Sweden has taken a fair amount. We export to France a little bit. A few other the places have taken some over.
At least in New Zealand they know your beer.
New Zealand don't have our beer yet, but
But at least people there know it.
Does it travel?
it does travel well in keg and in can particularly. We found that Sweden have been taking some cask.
Sweden.
Sweden, yeah. But we do worry about sending cask in particular because it's, as I said, it's a live product and you can't control the temperatures. So we only send that over towards the end of the year when we know it's not going to see extreme temperatures.
Very.
Process for making new beers, like your flavours and stuff. Like
Just chuck it in, see what happens.
does someone just walk in one day and be like, oh fuck it, I'm going to try this and see how it comes out? Sell that? Or
Well,
is it planned design?
we usually have a rough idea of what we want to produce. So if we want to say produce a 5% pale ale, we'll know how much malt we need to put into into the grist in order to get the right amount of sugars to produce that. Then we'll have to calculate the amount of bitterness we want. The level of bitterness compared to the sweetness is an important characteristic for.
It's already magical.
Well, then the fairy dust come. No. It's. I mean, you can just go in there with an idea of what you want to produce and do something more or less right. But because we know what we're doing, we know the kit, we know how much grain is needed to produce the ABV, we can work to a, within boundaries, we can get what we want each time we want to produce something.
Is that sort of how you do it then? Like you go in and be like, oh well, we want to make a hazy pale or whatever, or do you go in like, oh, we want to make this kind of flavour profile, or?
Generally, I mean, it's a combination of both. We'll say we want a hazy pale with this flavour profile, so we know what flavours the hops are going to give us. We taste our head brewer goes over to America and tastes the hops as they're being harvested, or tastes the extracts from the hops and then sniffs them, decides which batches we want to have to produce our beers each year. It's a terrible job. I don't really know how he got that one, but yeah, when you're in charge of the brewing side of things, you get to make these decisions. So yeah, I mean, we know what we want to sell, basically, and we tend to work back from that. But if the brewers have an idea that they want to produce X beer, then they'll
say no.
Then sales say no. I don't.
Has anyone ever come in and been like, oh, we should make this really strange beer?
Yeah, quite a lot of times, and often we've done them. But yeah,
Do you just do a small batch? Yeah. Do you do a small batch then?
we don't have a test kit really. No, we
Not like an home brewer.
Your next question we're going to be, where'd you test them? Where's
a couple of our brewers do homebrew as well, and they'll often test things out at home to try and decide what they want to do.
Are we going to see the fun coming or not? We're not allowed in the room.
Well, you can't go in the folk dungeon before you go in the rest of the brewery for
Do you try and
obvious
explain
reasons.
about that then? Because someone might not know about it.
Absolutely, yeah. But we're going to go through there in a bit, and we'll poke our heads in. But yeah, we can't go in there before we go in the rest of it. But yeah, the folk dungeon is where we produce more unusual beers which have different strains of yeast which might produce different flavours. So Brettanomyces is a commonly used one. and we usually age these beers in wood over time, and that allows more interesting, unique flavours to develop. We'll usually only release those beers in keg and bottle, partially because we don't want to put risk infecting the rest of the brewery with Brettanomyces, as if that got into moonshine, then that would ruin a batch of moonshine. But it means that we can produce some really exciting, unique beers. And they're always one-off, because you can't replicate the same characteristics of it 1 year to the next. Small changes in the strain of Brettanomyces and the other yeasts we use will change the product. We'll often add fruit to them. So at the moment we've got a beer which has grape must added to it. So those are lightly pressed grapes which were used in an English wine, which we've added into it to give a really interesting tannic kind of quality to it. Really excited for how that one's going to be in about a year's time when it's ready. You've got to be very patient with funkier beers.
Do you have any way to like request beers? Is there a...
If you have any requests, email them in. We are definitely taking requests for next year. Can't guarantee anything, obviously, but yeah, we'll always listen. But there is
for one now, then, if that's all right.
What's that?
Brewdog used to do a marshmallow and pineapple hazy IPA.
Absolutely fucking not.
I think it's got vetoed. I do apologise.
It was delicious. It sounds strange, but it was delicious.
Well, if you'd like, we'll now go and poke our heads into the Funk Dungeon. It is mostly just barrels, but it should give you an idea.